Scratch the Vinyl.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Scratch the Vinyl. You know what it is. It's the premier music show here in Lincoln and the universe around, which is, you guessed it, everybody, everywhere. I've got the man, the myth himself. I've got Randy Wilson, Mr. Chill. I've got Brooke. Da-na-na-na-na-na. They say it's your birthday. Come on, Randy. Da-na-na-na-na. It's Brooke's birthday too. It's Brooke's birthday, everybody. She's I think she's 25 today or something.
Yep, Big Red herself. Happy birthday, Brooke.
It's the Brooke birthday.
I'm still using my fake ID.
That's right. It says McLovin on it, you know?
Miss McLovin.
That's right. So how's it going? I mean, you got your birthday, you got some big festivities going on tonight, Brooke?
Not really. I'm gonna go to work and if anybody wants to show up for a drink afterwards, that's what we're doing.
Man.
So nothing too crazy. I'm sure my sister will show up with the blow up doll and balloons, and it's like a thing we do.
I mean, I don't want to say anything, but we got the cutout Dan with the blow up doll. This could be a very interesting birthday for Brooke.
I think I actually have the blow up doll. So, Kate, this is what we do. It's been going on for about 6 years now, and we go around to when it's their birthday. We have this blow up doll that Ingrid created in the very beginning, and so we tattoo it, and it says like "Mom" or like "Dan insert here" or whatever. Oh. So it has all of these tattoos, and it's been going around to everybody's birthday. Well, I think I have it because I was the last one to take, and I think it was Dan's birthday probably, but I think all of her air's gone. So we got to find the other holes that are not the right holes. So I have it, so maybe it won't show up. Or Ingrid went and got another one. We don't know.
Well, we are glad to have you in the studio this morning. That is for sure.
We absolutely are. Yeah, it kind of brightens up the whole show, and it's like, it's not that, it really is nice having Brooke on the show, and I think the listeners enjoy it too. Randy and I'd be like, a couple of like uncles in the garage, high-fiving each other, maybe listening to Bon Jovi. Oh yeah, Dad, this is cool. But then you add Brooke to it, and it's then it turns into an awesome show.
Well, it's definitely the rose between two thorns. That is for sure.
You guys are too much.
Well, I was promised the rubber chicken. I'm still waiting for the chicken so that I can, squeeze that thing whenever Brooke gets out of hand on the show.
The delay. Right. Oh, Lord. I love you guys.
Well, we might give you an extra couple seconds today, but
a little leeway.
Thank you.
So let's if you guys don't have a whole lot going on, Brooke's birthday is everything going on. Let's move on to quotes a little bit. Did you guys have any quotes quotes or lyrics that you guys really had resonate with you this week?
I do. I have one, but it's a kind of a statement, I guess. I don't know. It's by Quentin Tarantino, and he says, "To me, movies and music go hand in hand. When I'm writing a script, one of the first things I do is find the music I'm going to play for the opening sequence." And I love movies and I love music. And I always believe that music really makes the movie almost more than the acting. I think it's the music really can hit you. But
well, that really goes hand in hand to the one I brought today, which is from Bob Marley. Is the truth is everyone is going to hurt you. You just got to find the ones worth suffering for. And we just had, the new Bob Marley movie released, and you're talking about Quentin Tarantino, and maybe today's episode should be a little bit about maybe soundtracks today.
I think that's a perfect idea. That was a great tie-in to it. It's funny you say that about Quentin Tarantino because, like, one of my favorite movies of his current is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I watch that movie like every other day. It seems like, and the thing about his movies is that all of them have amazing soundtracks, right? They just set the stage. He plays the weirdest music behind the craziest scenes. And honestly, it got me thinking about soundtracks and like what great soundtracks are out there. And man, there are a billion of them. And then we kind of were talking about it this week about it. It got me thinking about, okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a little secret, a little story here. I went to a it's really strange actually. This lady that my mom used to have babysit me, her name was Bev or something. And she used to babysit me, but I would go on like dates with her, like go to go like to movies and eat tacos together. I'd even been holding hands. And I got to thinking to myself, like, was I dating Bev as a child? Like,
What kind of movies were you going
Yeah,
to?
I was like, what kind of soundtracks are you listening to?
well, the thing is, we went to like romantic movies. Like we went to, and this is a tie into what we're talking about. We went into The Bodyguard, with Kevin Costner and her and Whitney. No, not Bev and Whitney Houston. Of course, I say her. But man, it has like the best soundtrack. Like I think about it and I start playing all those and I just get in my feels and I start thinking about Bev, you know what I mean? Like what it was. So it kind of transcends me back to that time. And Kevin Costner was for all the ladies, he was melting their, panties off their bodies at that time.
Well, and also like, with soundtracks, you have movies, like you actually have the singer, like Whitney Houston, and she's in the movie, and then you have soundtracks that different singers, but like Titanic, you have that iconic song, and so it's not necessarily about her or she's not in it. And then you have other movies, or like my favorite one, Quentin Tarantino, is Pulp Fiction, and I was probably 14 or 15 or 16 when it came out, and that soundtrack like started to help me realize like I love this kind of music and I love this kind of, you're coming out, you're trying to figure out who you are. And that was one of my favorite ones of all time.
Well, I think Tarantino, he always found the songs that were kind of off the beaten path and were like perfect for the movies. Like that dance scene in Pulp Fiction was a Chuck Berry song.
Yeah.
You Never Can Tell. And it was probably one of his lesser known songs, but boy, it really made that movie.
Well, speaking of like that, the quote or whatever he was talking about, the first sequence. So I looked it up because I wasn't familiar with it, but it's called Mircerlo, I believe. And I looked at two different places, but it says 1927 or 29, but it was a Greek man that had originally wrote it and conducted it. And it was Nikos Rubanis was the composer, and Titos Dimitri, can't say it, but he sang it. And I looked it up and I was listening to it. So the rendition that's in Pulp Fiction is by Dick Dale. And so he makes it a little bit more funkier, but it's basically about love between a Greek Christian man and an Egyptian Muslim woman. And so it's been made over by lots of different people, but Dick Dale was the famous one. And so I wish I could talk to Quentin right now and say, how did you find this one for that opening scene right when Honey Bunny and they do their little, thing at the diner, and then that goes on. And it was one of my favorite songs, but I never really looked into it to see what it was or where it came from.
Well, like I said, he used a lot of obscure songs and even looked at the local California rock scene, the surfer scene. I know there was I think the last song was Surf Rider, by a local surf rock band, the Lively Ones. That's how it ended out in the diner scene.
Mm-hmm.
And another one that you brought up, Tarantino, but his music choices for Reservoir Dogs too, it's crazy.
Well, that with the Pulp Fiction one, I think I'd be in my car driving and you'll be a woman soon. I loved that one. And that was Urge Overkill, whom opened for Nirvana and Pearl Jam. And it was written by Neil Diamond. So, I mean, That's just an epic song. And Son of a Preacher Man was recorded by Dusty Springfield, which I didn't really realize. Like, I thought she was a younger woman, I guess. Oh, I guess this was a 90 whatever 4. So she probably was a little younger. But she's amazing. She has a soul kind of voice. But you're right. He uses a lot of just obscure, awesome music. I know. He's one of my faves.
Plus, I think he was tapping into kind of John Travolta's kind of past of him being a dancer, and I think he was trying to tap into a little of his charisma to draw the ladies to that movie. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, and Uma Thurman, she killed it.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and we love her feet because he likes to use feet in all his movies. I would not get that part. I'd have an OnlyFans and just do the feet. I'd make a lot of you're weird.
He must be a foot fetish guy, you know, like he must watch like feet walking in hamburger videos and stuff.
I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah, who doesn't watch
hamburger videos? Yeah, it's not a bad idea. You could call it Lucy hamburger or whatever. Instead of the grapes, you do hamburger. Okay.
I just call it meat feet, you know, like I tell my wife all the time, like we're starting at OnlyFans and you're just going to walk through raw meat. And I'm sure there's some, you know, serial killer or two out there. Please don't get a hold of us. But, but I'm sure they're out there listening.
Do you know what movie kept Pulp Fiction from probably winning Best Picture that year? Forrest Gump.
Oh, and that has an epic soundtrack. That soundtrack, I had the double disc back in the day. I used to listen to it all the time. You know, it has like you know, a bunch of orchestral stuff, and also, I mean, it has the full deal. But it has Creedence Clearwater Revival. I mean, it has everybody on that. Think about it. Think about how iconic Forrest Gump was. So I could see that. That's crazy. A movie that big, like Pulp Fiction, they got knocked down by, oh, wait, another unbelievable movie.
Do you know what the irony to that is?
What's that?
John Travolta actually turned down that role for Forrest Gump.
There was a lot of actors that did that, and they're kicking themselves in the, a lot of them turned down. But you know what? I'm glad it was Forrest Gump and not like, you know, Susie went to Ireland, you know, it was some stupid movie. That was an iconic movie too. And I do love, they have a lot of really good music on here.
Well, and we're talking about soundtracks. I mean, soundtracks, Brooke nailed it. Like it really sets the stage. It's almost better than the acting. Like when you cry to a movie, yes, we do connect with like their acting and their crying and everything, but really we connect to like the beautiful music in the background. Like I'm a movie crier and I don't have any problem saying it. Like I don't know, as an adult I cry more. And so I watch these movies and I just get all sobby and teary to all the music. Like it just sets something off in my soul.
Well, and I had this idea one time about a movie, and you have different segments, but it's all about the music and the feeling. I think we talked about this before. So you have the exact same thing going on, like a short, 20-minute little movie, and you have, horror movie music, and then you have like love music. So it's all like about the music changing the style of what the actual acting in movie is about. And I mean, because it sets the scene, it sets how you feel. Because I don't really cry during like the Leprechaun movie,
You cry at how great it is.
I cried. Oh my God.
I know we've been talking about the Leprechaun movie, but man, I've been hitting it hard. I literally watched all of them within the last, week and a half or so. And then I asked myself afterwards, like, why did I watch all those?
The soundtrack. I bet it was amazing.
It was epic. It was a lot of bong and But like other soundtracks, I mean, let's think. Look, Rocky, for example. Who doesn't know the Rocky soundtrack? And he's running and doing the whole montage. Every single Rocky had a great soundtrack. And then even the Friday the 13th series, to be honest with you, as crazy as that is, if you go back and you're lucky enough to get the vinyl for some of those, they had epic soundtracks for those. Top Gun, right? Top Gun.
Yeah.
Randy
I was thinking Top Gun because I'm a little older than you guys, and boy, that was 1986. That was a huge kind of year for like, God, 7 songs came off that album. Were probably, got steady radio time. It was just, and it kind of revamped with the new Maverick movie recently in the last couple of years, with so much time apart. Boy, it really, just hearing those songs just bring you right back to that movie.
There's another one that I really liked was Beetlejuice. And I love Seven Psychopaths. They have a great one. Natural Born Killers, Dirty Dancing. Into the Wild was really good. I think there's a lot of Pearl Jam. That one. Dazed and Confused. Pretty Woman.
Confused, yeah.
Then there's this one called Toys, and it's I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. Robin Williams is in it, and I had that CD. And it was actually a really, really good CD. I even told somebody one time I was messing with them. And I said, yeah, that's my aunt singing the Christmas song. And they're like, wow, she's really good. And I was like, yeah, and you're gullible. But
you know what movies I think are made big by soundtrack was in the MCU is the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I think the soundtracks make all 3 of the Guardian series like epic. And of course, Star-Lord with the classic Walkman with little headphones.
I would argue that those are the best soundtracks we've had in the last 10 years, where all 3 of those movies and the soundtracks that they had. I mean, like if you want a soundtrack of music and just sit there on like a beautiful compilation of all different types of stuff, I would say those are some of the best.
Do you want to know what the first soundtrack was? 1937 Walt Disney animated film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and it was the first commercially issued film soundtrack. Cartoon. Who would have thunk?
I think I knew that, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they were instrumental in bringing music to movies.
When did The Wizard of Oz come out? I mean, The Wizard of Oz has been around for 100 years or whatever now or whatever. So it's like that alone too, that soundtrack is iconic as as anything. Like obviously Somewhere with Rainbow, all that stuff is something that people think about.
It says 1939 was the musical. Oh no, that's the original soundtrack. Yeah. December 4th, 2020.
Is that when it
so
came out?
So Kane, you weren't wrong. 100 years.
Yeah, I was exactly right. Well, it's crazy watching that movie too, because like the music is iconic, but a lot of things were musicals back then. Like think about, and then as movies kind of progress, like think about like Burt Bacharach and all that stuff, doing all the jazz, all the jazz infused background behind everything. I mean, there's just all they did was set the stage. Like I wish movies would go back to that. I wish it would be more of that, telling the story with the song type thing. I mean, but maybe I'm just kind of a dork for even bringing up that type of thing. But I love it, man. I love like the orchestral part of it. I love the symphonies and all that. I just think that a soundtrack, yeah, I mean, that really music is just a soundtrack to our life, isn't it?
Well, obviously, if you have a really good soundtrack, it totally brings the emotion out of the movie. I mean, you can even look at this last year's Grammy winner, Billie Eilish, for Barbie. That song now has become an iconic already, just within this last year. And the movie itself really didn't get. It had a lot of viewership worldwide, and it was very well received. Didn't quite get the, Academy Award Best Film honors, but boy, the soundtrack was killer. It's what really they got all their awards for.
Yeah. And Kane, we were talking about, you were watching it and you're crying or something. I was like, yeah, I bawled like 8 times in it. And it was the music. She killed it. Well, and what's her name's pretty hot too.
Dua Lipa? Oh, you mean Margot Robbie?
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, Dua Lipa had the other song to that soundtrack for Barbie, like two big songs with probably 2 of the kind of most current perennial songwriters right now. And obviously it pays off for a movie like that.
Well, when I was a kid, two big soundtracks were Space Jam. When Space Jam came out, had a killer soundtrack. I was in junior high then, and then like we used to play basketball, and we'd fight over this one soundtrack all the time. It was the Above the Rim soundtrack, and I mean, I know that's kind of going there, but I was a huge rap fan. It was heavily. It might have even been produced by Death Row Records. So I mean, you can imagine me, young Kane, rolling around, pants sagging.
I like rap too. I like that one. That was good.
I mean, honestly, we could talk about. I want to revisit soundtracks a little more here down the line. I think that the soundtracks are a massive part of music success, and obviously, it rifles people into another category. I mean, like Billie Eilish was already famous, but after that Barbie movie and that song, I mean, now she has ingrained herself as an absolute legend.
Well, she'd already won for the James Bond movie as well. So she's 2 for 2 on big hits for movies. And what's funny is her and Phineas, they always wanted to do a soundtrack for a Bond movie and then had the opportunity. But that's pretty amazing to have back-to-back, Grammys for soundtracks.
Absolutely.
And Lady Gaga, she's another favorite. It's her birthday today too. Shout out, lady.
Oh, Brooke Sharon birthday is Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Well, I hope our listeners kind of enjoy maybe the conversation about soundtracks, and maybe they can send some emails in or let us know maybe some other soundtracks maybe they want us to talk about. We could do a little research on.
If you want to get a hold of us, Scratch the Vinyl Podcast at gmail.com.
Scratch that vinyl.
Scratch it. And now let's move to our turntable portion of the show. This is our version of a round table, but we'd rather have a turntable in front of us. We're talking about records. We're talking about all sorts of things. I've got one to bring to you guys. So I was thumbing through the record store as I do often. Sometimes I go with no money and I just thumb through and walk out. But this one I couldn't walk out from. I'm going to show it to you right now. I got this Nirvana album, and it is a live album. Ooh.
Yes.
And it's Nirvana, Rome as You Are, and it's kind of rare, honestly. It wasn't a cheap album, and basically it's a live album from Rome in '91, and it's got like short-haired Kurt, if you can imagine that. And this was around the same time that they were hitting it hard, and they even played at Duffy's around that time too, right here in Lincoln. And so, of course, when I thought about that, I had to, when I saw like the songs on this particular album, I had to get it. And I mean, the audio's trash, obviously. It's not your typical, it might even be almost like a bootleg type deal. Like you can hear a lot of screeching and distorted, out of tuning and all that stuff. But man, it is pure bliss.
I used to love to pick up bootlegs back in the day. There was just something about them. I'd spend that extra $10 just to have a bootleg from a show from somewhere.
Yeah.
My brother, when he was in New York, he was a little naive, and he was getting those DVDs and on the street, and he goes, "I got like 15 movies for $4." He went home, and it's like somebody recording the screen, and there's people walking by, and it's in like Japanese, and he's like, "What the heck?" And so when we went to go to visit him, he's like, "Hey, you guys, you should go get some of these movies." And we're like, "Oh, sweet." And he's like, he thinks he's hilarious, but bootleg. And I mean, we still watched him because it was like not even out, at Blockbuster yet.
That's funny you say that, because I actually bought a lot of Kiss album bootlegs out of China or Japan or wherever they were, and all the label covers were in Chinese, but I loved them though. They were just like being live.
I made bootlegs. You record on your stereo, and you hope that the DJ doesn't talk too long in the beginning, and you'd make a whole recording of all of the songs you wanted. Or you go to the concert, you'd record it, and you don't hear anything but people.
I think we need to check the statute of limitations. We don't want Big Red here getting in trouble.
Yeah, she means allegedly. She means somebody else did it. And
Yeah, allegedly.
Every child, you put your tape in, and then you even sing to it. You can still hear you singing, and oh my god,
we all did the mixtape. I mean, when they had the double deck on all those, and it had record on the other side, of course.
Yeah.
I think it's sad that kids don't know what we're talking about right now. Any younger generation listening to our podcast right now has no idea what we're talking about. But we all used to do that.
That's so sad, isn't it? That's where society has come. Our kids will never know the joy of making your own mixtape, or like giving your girlfriend the, like a brilliant rendition of the Cranberries followed by Limp Bizkit or something.
I think that's, when I was talking about the soundtracks from the 80s, that is so true. You would mix tapes to a lot of those soundtracks.
Yeah.
Because it totally connected to your life for some reason. Like you could find a song for every trouble you were having in the world.
Absolutely. My favorite was Bryan Adams. Everything I do it for you. And I would call the radio. I'm like, will you dedicate this to Jeff or whoever, And they're like, we'll get that for you. And I'm like, 4th grade.
I saw Bryan Adams' opening show. He opened for Journey, his first tour. Cuts Like a Knife tour.
And Bryan Adams, what I want to have a whole show, like a dedication show to Bryan Adams. I don't think people realize how amazing this guy was, and honestly how many hits he really had. And then his son Ryan Adams is also an amazing musician, so we could do 2 or 5 shows just on Bryan Adams alone. I know all you ladies, just the mere mention of him, I know that your bras are slowly unsnapping, and you're going to start throwing them really soon.
Yeah. Yep. Robin Hood. That's what got me. Oh boy. Bryan.
I'm not gonna lie. I like me a little Bryan Adams. He put out some pretty good stuff over the years.
So what else do you guys got? I mean, did you guys have anything to bring to the turntable today?
Well, we did a little kind of a singing bracket contest. It's still going on, by the way. Depending on when this episode airs, we may have a Final Four. It's hard to say, but we selected 64 of our most loyal singers for March Madness, and it's been fun listening to the trash talking, and it's forced everybody to come out and sing new songs and just have a great time with it. Poor Brooke was seated in one of the regions as a 16 seed, and she gave it her best.
I can't even believe I made it. I was like, what's going on? What are we doing?
she got a little benefit from the selection committee.
I paid him.
Yeah, Sunday selection. She might have bribed the judge with a few shots of Patron. I'm just saying it was out there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you sound better when you're drunk. Well, not necessarily when you're drunk, but singing. But the crowd,
Well, Brooke is underestimated for her comedic performance, is all I'm saying.
I knew this thing was rigged. I knew if Brooke was in it, I knew that the committee.
Well, if she would have had the biggest upset in the tournament, that would have been there probably would have been some foul calls, but she took her defeat gracefully, and I'm so proud of her.
Thank you. I want to thank my mother and my father for giving me a horrible voice. A little out of tune, but still love it. Thank you.
I saw the comments on that thread when you were announcing it, and I saw this one guy go, Randy, what is this? I think it's genius, man.
Well, the one guy chimed in. He doesn't come out very often. And he's like, what about me? I go, all right, dude, I'll put you in the NIT. And everybody loved that. It was hilarious. But I do love the fact that we get some great regular people come out and just have a good time with what we're doing. And so we try to come up with some fun things to keep people motivated. And well, I'll tell you what, this last week, I think only 12 singers out of the 64 didn't show up for the contest. So that's pretty good.
And that's a forfeit, right? If you don't show, that's an instant forfeit.
Yep. Instant forfeit. You're out.
And then didn't you guys do an 80s night or something too as well? Didn't you guys have like an 80s night at
We made everybody sing an 80s song, and we tried to make it so it wasn't something they'd ever done before. And the people that really got into it, they brought out songs that I hadn't heard in a while. I was super impressed with a few of them that really came out and had a good time.
Randy, you're really good. That was a great idea. You have good, they're just fun. And what you did this time, I mean, it does bring people out, and they do get a little, I mean, competitive.
I know you don't think so, but they kind of do care. They really do. And in general, I don't like singing contests because your loyal people, they, if they feel like their feelings get hurt if they don't get selected, like, oh, you don't think I'm a good singer, that kind of stuff. But I really try to downplay that part of it. I really try to just get everybody to embrace the idea. It's about just show up and have a good time. And if you happen to, upset one of the really good singers, well, maybe we'll see how far you can go. And what's funny is you can get the crowd around someone that's maybe not the best singer, but really, gives a performance. It can be all about the performance. And I love that. I think the people that just really embrace it, but you're right, Brooke. I think that's, why a lot of people follow what we do and come out and have a good time. And that's why music and singing, it's still, it's still a positive thing in most people's lives that enjoy it.
Well, you bring out some really good energy, and it's that you have this vibe. And sometimes, like even shows, or you go to karaoke and you just have this vibe that it's like, I don't know, there's this like dark cloud, or you go to a bar, wherever you go, you just have this feeling, and yours is fun all the time. Well, we should do a soundtrack one.
A soundtrack one. I love that idea. I'm gonna have to write that down. I think that's a great idea. I think what happens is if everything gets too repetitive all the time, then people get turned away eventually. It's like, it gets kind of ho-hum and boring. But what I always try to do is get new things going, whether it's finding old songs that nobody does, or one of my reasons for success is always trying to bring the newest music out. And it gives people an opportunity to kind of find their own song before anybody else does. And
age group, it varies. Like you have like 21-year-olds all the way up to 85-year-olds.
Oh yeah. My crowd is very diverse. And I love that.
Yeah. Especially when you get Harold up there singing his old school music. It almost makes me cry.
But the crowd loves it. He does some classic, Motown songs, The Temptations. He sings a lot of those feel good songs that people can sing along and get behind. And I don't ever get tired of hearing those.
Or Kermit the Frog, remember that guy?
Yeah, Jason, he's still around. He's still around. He doesn't like to do that all the time. But you get a few Captain Morgans in him. He'll do that song in a heartbeat.
He literally sounds just like him. I'm like, can I be Miss Piggy?
Is he the guy that has the Grinch grin to him all the time? Like he looks like
he does that song too. Yeah. He does that song too.
He does it epic, but like his face, like just the way, it's not a bad thing. I'm saying like just his mannerisms and everything. If you put green paint on this guy, he could actually morph into the Grinch. He'd have to be hairier too.
Hope Jason picks up our show.
I hope so too, man. I used to love that guy coming to my shows. The biggest mistake I made was we did the same type of things. I mean, Randy worked with me, and I tried to do an 80s and 90s costume night, but it was great until, I dressed up as, one of the dudes from Run DMC. We had a good time, but someone's going to be pissed by the end of it, right? That somebody's going to put a lot of time into their outfits, and then they're going to feel like they got cheated. And I don't even remember who won, is the sad thing. But the point of it is I basically, I think I pissed off like half the crowd, because half the crowd tried harder than the person who won on their outfit. And I just thought the person who won was better. And so, you kind of it was fun, but I think if you had executed that, it would have been different. But me being drunk and me being kind of like annoyed, I didn't handle it very well at all by the end of it. I was actually kind of ticked. So if it wasn't for the music, I probably would have just bailed.
Oh yeah, I learned my lessons over the time. Like I said, I used to do a lot of contests a long time ago, but I did it because we had this enormous amount of great talent of singers. In fact, my early shows was nothing but high talent people, and it's funny how it did morph into where I started bringing a bigger crowd that because they love to listen to these people sing, but it also brought more people, and it kind of opened the door for everybody, and that was really the natural transgression of it. But it is crazy to see how many great singers we used to have come out. I mean, it was literally like a rock concert every week. And then I had a time period where I would get all the theater kids from the university. I mean, that was a huge group of talented people, and they would come to basically practice their talents in a live setting, and it was a contest between them, and the crowds would just get behind that all the time.
But Randy, I have to say one thing for people like us, like us, people that can't sing. We do appreciate that you make us feel welcome and have fun with that, because there are a lot of people that they're never going to be famous. They can't sing. But that's their way of, getting out there and just having fun. And when you go to some of those karaoke, places, and they're only good singers, and they're like, oh, you suck. Like, you don't feel comfortable, and you're just there to have fun. This isn't, we're not on, American Idol or whatever. This is like, it's supposed to be fun. And that's what I love, that you have a plethora of singers, of age, of all of it. Like, you have so many different people, and it's amazing. And I think people need to check you out, because I love it. It's one of my favorite.
You know what else I like, along with what you just said, that Brooke and I love, that is that even a lot of our really good singers that come out regularly, they don't mind when some of the lesser talented singers ask them to sing with them, because it kind of gives them that little crutch, but it's because they want to feel that same enjoyment, and they don't know how else to do it. And I love that a lot of our better singers embrace that and don't shun them away, and they get up and help them sing, and I really do like that.
And they sound better.
Yeah.
Like, then you really sound good when you got.
But it does. It includes them. It makes them feel good. It includes them into the fun, and you realize you don't have to be great to have fun, and that's really a lesson in life when it comes to music. And it's a lot of what we talk about on this podcast is, music is life, and you just got to find your own vibration, and everything will touch you that you can connect with.
Well, and it could be epic when you have a show with nothing but great singers. But let's be honest, some of these people, you get those prima donnas up there, they're like, hey man, I need like 1,000 times more reverb and all, and you need better mics. And I'm just like, whatever, dude, just go finish the song, have a good time. Like, it doesn't matter. You really do, Randy. Like, I mean, I'm kind of like a mentor of you. I mean, when I got into karaoke, I used to go to your shows years ago, and I used to think to myself, man, this is the coolest. I want to do this someday. And then I started my own company, and I kind of just did the same. I wasn't copying you, but I'm a like-minded person. I would party hard with people. I would try to make people have a good time. And, that's what Randy does. So if you guys are in the Lincoln area, try to find a Mr. Chill show, get out there, Lincoln, and support karaoke in general. We are obviously pro karaoke, and it's not just because I used to have a business. It's not because Randy does it. I mean, we feel fully, I mean, Brooke supports it too. We know the power of karaoke and how great it is. And that's what this show is too. It's sharing the gift of music, right? It's a really
testament of music. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the love of music. That's why we're doing this show. That's why we did karaoke. we're people pleasers. You know, Brooks probably pumping the jukebox, you know, getting people, you know, get them what they want. Randy and I were doing the same things. We're just making people feel good with music. But you know, I know we have some local goings on. So with that being said, let's go ahead and scratch the vinyl on this next segment. so so we do have some local stuff coming up. The major one that I saw that I wanted to bring to you guys' attention was in October. It looks like Korn's coming to Omaha, which is a huge show. I know I'm definitely interested whenever Korn or Limp Bizkit or anyone of my high school era comes through. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna beg them to kiss me if they will, and and I can't wait to go, but they won't. So Brooks probably got a better shot at a kiss from Jonathan Davis or something than me.
No, I just act really weird. I'm like, hi. And they're like, okay, crazy lady needs to leave.
Well, check out the lineup we've got coming from May to September. We got Cake, going to be outside at the Pinewood Bowl. We got Willie Nelson coming back into town. Billy Idol. Robert Plant is coming with Allison Krauss. And that's going to be a summer show at Pinewood. Of course, REO Speedwagon, they come through the area almost every year. Jason Mraz, Dwight Yoakam. And the Bare Naked Ladies is going to be playing close to my birthday in September. We may have to check that one out.
And I'm still sad I missed Third Eye Blind when they came through, you know, a few years ago, man. I can't believe REO is how many members of REO are still
It's all the original.
It's all the original, right? So that's one of the few bands out there that has everybody in it, and they're hitting it hard every year. I mean, those guys are nonstop.
Kevin Cronin could still hit some of those high notes. It's pretty crazy, really. That tends to happen with a lot of the big bands that the lead singer eventually just can't quite hit the high notes anymore. But I tell you what, Kevin Cronin's still going strong. The other news that we talked about was our local singer on The Voice got John Legend's Super Pass all the way to the finals. So he doesn't have to go through the battle rounds to advance.
Man, what if he won it all? I mean, if this guy wins it all, I mean, what a huge... I mean, Lincoln should we should throw a parade for this guy like the Super Bowl. I mean, that's a massive accomplishment.
Well, he's getting a lot of press around here now, finally, you know, with that happening. And most of the judges think he's got a shot at winning. He's got the voice. And I'm not going to lie, I thought his last performance was stellar.
Yeah.
And he was matched up with another really good singer, and they killed it. And they went back and forth. They killed it. And when John picked the other guy for winning the battle, I was like, no way. And then, of course, he gave him the Super Pass all the way to the finals. So that's a big thing on the show, to get the coach's Super Pass to go all the way through. You don't have to battle all the rounds and accidentally get kicked out for some reason. So, man, we wish him the best.
I mean, how many people from Nebraska have been either on American Idol or the Voice, or do you? I mean, because I know we've had a few of them.
Well, I think we've only had 2 from Lincoln that I know of, but we've had a handful from Nebraska.
From Nebraska,
you know, and I think some of those from Nebraska, of course, have performed in Lincoln, so that's kind of how we know them, but weren't born here. But Josh Hoyer and this Brian Olson, they are from Lincoln.
Yeah. And because what was it? What's her name? Is it Hannah Houston? Is that her name?
Oh yeah.
She's from Grand Island, right?
Yeah, Grand Island, I think.
But we'll continue to talk about this, especially for Lincolnites and everybody listening. Is just you guys should get out and support local music, because the talent here is massive. The scene is actually really good. You know, there's a great metal scene. There's an epic music scene all around. It's not just cover bands, but if you do like cover bands, there's a ton of them out there that are killing it. So, I mean, we have a great scene here.
I don't know if you know this, but you know, I was one of the big promoters of metal bands in Lincoln for many years. In fact, I was one of the venues that gave Dirt Fed their start.
What venue was that? I don't remember.
The Spigot downtown.
That's right, man.
Was one of the bars I owned back in that time, and they were young kids when they started. In fact, I had them play at my other places, and then when we started doing metal bands regularly, those guys hit it big. Went out on tour with Slipknot.
Yeah, they got signed by Clown from Slipknot's label, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's so why I think that's great that you supported that, because when I was young and doing metal, it was hard to get. We did a lot of house shows and things like that because that's where we had to really do the scene, and those are crazy. A lot of weird things happen at house shows though. Like I can remember one guy playing naked, and like I can remember his member hit me in the arm, and me like freaking out, and like I got my nose broke in the mosh pit. The cops came and beat us up. I mean, it was like so it's so much better having like a scene to go to. But those are the good.
I've been to a few of those house parties. My good friend, he was in Full Throttle, and I knew, I was like, all right, I gotta sit way back because this mosh pit's gonna start pretty soon. Because I was right up front the first time it happened, and I was like, what's going on? What are all these people doing? And that was my first experience. But yeah, those are actually.
It's funny. I actually had nothing but great experience with those crowds. Yeah. They were very supportive. I actually preferred their crowds. Their fans were loyal and supportive. They showed up, and I never had any issues. I mean, geez, for probably 7 years, never had one issue with having those bands. And like I said, I thought their fans were super respectful. And you know what? I think it's just because they appreciated having a big venue that allowed them to come and listen to the kind of music they wanted. And I always took that to heart.
Well, now you can go down to the Swamp downtown and you can go see metal shows there. I think that's over there by the game room or whatever. They have the Swamp there. And there's a ton of metal bands that come in and out of there, and a lot of local talent. Guys showing up in baby costumes, moshing. I mean, it's a really fun place. But man, I really do want to thank you, Randy, as a former bar owner, for taking a chance on metal, because these kids are, they just want to get their angst out and all of that. They want to mosh and everything. They're actually good kids, man. They're really aggressive, but they're not harming anybody. They're just there to have a good time.
Well, again, that's what our show's all about, is just connecting with music, no matter what it is. And everybody flows to a different vibration, and each to their own.
And I have a really good friend. Her kids are in a band, and they're hardcore, and they're really good. And I love listening to them. I think it'd be fun to have them on sometime.
I'd love to. I want to talk to you guys about mosh pits and like the different feels of live shows and stuff on another show. But I know Brooke's got a bunch of things going on. She's dressed and ready to party. Unfortunately, this show is coming to not a sad ending, a happy ending. And we're hoping that you guys are happy from the show and that you guys had a good time. So thank you guys for listening to Scratch the Vinyl. Once again, we have Big Red, DJ BJ up in here, the birthday girl herself. If you're out there, give her a drink or two. And then Randy, Mr. Chill, Wilson, and I'm Kane Stevens. Thank you guys for listening to Scratch the Vinyl. See ya.
Peace.
Scratch the Vinyl.